we go.
What's going on, big ballers, shot callers? Big Ken here. Welcome from the Grid to the Rim Sports Talk Show. We got a special show today. Of course, I'm always joined by my co-host and best friend Monty Brown, but we have a guest, my friend Dave Paul, who I do high school football games with. He's my mentor, so welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you.
Hey, Dave, welcome, man. Thank
Thanks,
you for
Monty.
joining us.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. Like I said, this show is all about having fun. We don't, of course, we like to get views and everything, but if we don't, so be it. We just like talking about something that we like talking about, which is football and other sports. And we start off the show at March Madness for college basketball. We've been going since then. So, yeah, let's start this off, man. College football playoffs is almost here. A lot of bowl games going on the past couple of weeks over the holidays, and college football playoffs is here in a week. But before we get into that, let's talk about players opting out of bowl games. What's your guys' opinions on that? What's your opinion on that, Monty? What's your opinion on some players not playing in these bowl games because they're going into the draft?
Yeah, and that's the key thing right there, Ken. I know you disagree with it. I disagree as well, but at the same time, I understand. We had a matchup a couple years ago here at the Sun Bowl in El Paso with North Carolina and Stanford, and it was Christian McCaffrey's senior year, and he sat out for that game, and for good reason, didn't want to get hurt his draft stock. That part, I understand it. I get it. I don't know if I agree with it because you have fans that want to come and see him. Mitch Trubisky was on the other side playing on the end. I mean we got to see him, but big time players like a Christian McCaffrey, it's going to hurt the fan base. I mean, might hurt the attendance with fans knowing that he's not going to be there. I'm sure it did hurt the attendance here at the Sun Bowl, but in the aspect of as a college football fan, yeah, I don't like it because I want to see these players play. I mean, that's what you pay your money for. But at the same time, I get it. They're looking out for themselves. They're looking out for their career. I don't know how many times we've seen players hurt themselves in that last game, and it's hurt them. So I'm on the fence about it. I don't like it, but at the same time, I do understand why.
What do you think about it, Dave? You got an opinion on this about players?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Monty. I mean, I don't like it. Uh, I remember a few years back when, I don't know, McCaffrey was the first one or somebody, it was a big deal when the first person opted out. I was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
But now it seems to be becoming more the norm. And now, I mean, it's not really anymore with just the opting out. It's this whole transfer portal that people aren't playing too. I mean, Ohio State yesterday was a shell of themselves, without their starting quarterback. And, it just wasn't a game to watch the Ohio State we were watching earlier in the season. But I mean, I've come to understand that, yeah, it's, they've got to look out for their best interests in the future. And so, but I like I said, I think the transfer portal is hurting things more than, people not playing than anything. Hopefully next year it'll change when we go to the expanded playoffs. More teams will be in. So I think there'll be more players waiting to transfer out or, not opt out until, their most crucial game is over.
Right.
Is what I'm hoping. So hopefully we see more quality on the field, in some of these bowls. Because I'm sure it does affect the lack of attendance and such, and the areas where they have their lesser bowls.
Yeah, you guys both make good points. Yeah, Monty knows because he's on my, he's a friend on my Facebook, and I posted something like I posted about this a week ago, and I got a lot of comments, and most of the comments people disagree with me because they're saying what you and Monty were saying, that hey, it's their careers, they worked hard for this, and they don't want anything to mess it up. So I understood that, but I was saying, yeah, but at the same time, these guys are making NIL money now, and they're getting like $1 million. And if you're getting paid, you should play. So should they not get NIL money? Like should your NIL money stop if you don't want to play in a bowl game? Because you're basically saying you're going into the NFL or into the NBA, so you're no longer saying that you're a collegiate athlete. So I don't know. Because NIL is a huge discussion anyway. There's a lot of pros and cons on NIL. I mean, me and Monty and his nephew Dwayne, who did the show with us for March Madness and NBA, we talked about it during the summer. We had a video just about NIL, and like there's pros and cons to both. And like Monty's nephew Dwayne said, like you're not going to make everyone happy no matter what you choose on that decision. But I understand both sides of it. I understand why they make money because you're using their name to get ticket sales, like Dwayne was saying. But then at the same time, some people like college sports because they like the fact that they weren't making money. They thought there was more purity in college sports than the NFL or the NBA when it's all about the money and not about being a good teammate and stuff like that sometimes. So I understand both sides of it. But my thing is too is when they said they're meaningless bowl games, like I don't think they're meaningless. Yeah, some of the lower level bowl games might be meaningless, but there's still other like really big bowl games besides the college football playoffs. I mean, there's other championship bowl games that are being played today and yesterday, and there's a couple more games on New Year's Day, even before the college football playoff starts for some finals. So I think there's several meaningful bowl games. So I get like we're like a 6-6 team or something. You may want to play in that game, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like I feel like there's still meaningful bowl games though, because one of the comments said it's not meaningful. I'm like I don't know about that. Like one, this is the last game you'll play with your teammates. Like you may not ever play with these guys again. So this is like your last time to suit up with them in a game, and you will remember that for the rest of your life. And and then the other thing is like it can help out your draft stock. I understand why a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't want to do it with McCaffrey because they know they're legit number one picks. But I think some other guys do play though, because if they know they're not an automatic first rounder, I think some of these guys are playing in the bowl games because they want to try to have a good game and raise their level to be drafted higher. Like the USC receiver played. Did you guys see that? The USC guy played.
Yeah.
Of course, what's his name? The reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams didn't play. The backup had a lights out game though. That backup went off in that game. Threw like 6 touchdown passes. But one of the main receivers did not opt out for USC, and I was surprised by that. And he had a really good game, and he helped out the second string quarterback because he was going to him a lot. So he had a good receiver to go to in his first game. Against a good team in a bowl game against who were they playing against? They're playing against a 10-win team in the ACC. It wasn't Florida State. Who did Florida State? Louisville. So
Florida State's playing Georgia right now.
Yeah, so I understand you guys though, and I like what you said, Dave. Yeah, hopefully with the college football playoffs getting bigger next year, expanding, hopefully that would change. Because you're right, because now it's going to 12 teams, so now they have something to play for, and they still have a chance to get to the national championship game if they can win the first couple of rounds. So maybe they'll play. And I also agree with Dave about the transfer portal. But the transfer portal and NIL are all linked, like we talked about in the summer.
Yes.
So how that's linked together. So with the money they can get going to a bigger school, that's what they're going for, and to get more attention, of course, obviously. So, it's an interesting subject. Go ahead, Monty. I'm done.
Just real quick to piggyback off of both what you and Dave said. I don't know if this is possible or if they're doing this already, but the players that are getting NIL money or who will get NIL money, maybe there could be some kind of clause for them to play in these games if they make the bowl games from the people who are sponsoring these players. Oh, well, we're going to give you this, but we want you to play in this bowl game. You got to play in this bowl game in order for you to get this. I don't know if that's possible or not. If they've thought of that already, if they're doing it, if they're allowed to do it, I don't know, but it's a little sticky situation there.
Yeah, one of the things though is the ones who are opting out are really just the ones going into the draft,
right?
Even though kids are getting NIL money as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, they're still playing in the games, even though they, in the future they may be a first round pick or whatever. But I saw the graph on the Ohio State game. It's like they showed like 6 different players, I think it was. And Marvin Harrison was the only one who opted out. 3 of them went to the transfer portal and 2 were hurt. And, 6 of their top players were out, but only 1 was because the NIL were opting out for the draft. But, 2 or 3 were the NIL issues, but, including McCord, their quarterback,
Yeah.
getting more money going somewhere else.
Yeah, that
But,
game was horrible. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you,
Yeah,
Dave.
Dave, you're right. We're going to see this mainly with the top teams anyway. I don't think we'll see players from Bowling Green, so to speak, stuff like that. But yeah,
No, because they're still playing for like to get into the draft and like to make themselves a name, so they want to play in the bowl
Right.
game. That's the difference. There
right.
was a comment that someone said before getting to the CFP. There was a comment, one of the sports writers or sports, the guys covering one of the games, the analyst had said, as if he still can add value. If you can add value to your game, then they're going to play. If you can't add value to your game, then they're saying they're not going to play. That's maybe why Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't play. I don't like it, and it really hurt Ohio State big time. And him and his quarterback being there just killed them. A 14-3 game, that was boring. But but Marvin Harrison Jr. thinks he can't add value. Like, I'm already going to be like a top 5 pick probably, so there's no value to add. So that's why he's sitting out. But if you're like a late first rounder, early second rounder, or third or fourth rounder, you might be playing because you're trying to move up in the ladder. So,
you'll need to play.
Yeah, so you need to win and you need to play well, because then you can move up and everyone's gonna be like, because look what happened, not for football, but look what happened to Steph Curry in basketball playing in March Madness. He made a name for himself in that tournament. Obviously, that's a different sport, but I don't even know if he would have been drafted if he didn't play in March Madness. And look at this guy now. I mean, he's like one of the best players in the league for a while. So, but that's basketball though. But still, sports though.
I hope we don't see this in college basketball. That'll be a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we don't either. But I don't think we will, because there's the March Madness tournament. Everyone's playing for the ring. So
right.
Yeah. And there's such less chance for critical injury. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's not as much contact. Of course, you can get hurt in any sport, but you're right. It's not as violent as football.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Dave have seen that just looking at high school football games right here. Like, yeah, one thing I noticed being a high school official, man, is like, man, it don't look like much up in the stands, but when you're on that field, man, it's a totally different look. I was like, wow, these kids are fast and they're aggressive. And we're just talking about smaller schools up here in Washington. So I can imagine a powerhouse like where we grew up in Monty, in Texas with 5A, 6A schools in El Paso and other places in Texas like Dallas and Houston, all those really good teams that we can never get over the hump on in El Paso. Like how fast those guys are in 5A, 6A football, and that's just a high school football game. So, yeah, football is crazy, man. It's hard to see things. But let's get into the college football playoffs, gentlemen.
Good subject. Good.
Yes, like Dave alluded to, this is the last year of the system we got now. The 4 teams getting picked by the college football committee, which people always have issues with those guys. But this is the last year until we move on to the 12 team field. So let's talk about Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, since they're the ones playing first on New Year's Day here in a couple of days. Obviously, even though Michigan's number 1, a lot of people are predicting them to lose because of their history and Alabama's history, which is totally different. Alabama's always winning and Michigan can't get over the hump. So this is rare that you see a number 1 team with a lot of people going against them. I think ESPN poll has Michigan get a 56% chance to win. So, but I know a lot of sports writers are picking Alabama. Like 80% of the sports writers are picking Alabama, and I understand why. So, Monty, what's your thoughts on a Michigan-Alabama game? Who do you got? What do you think is going to happen in this game? What are the keys to the game?
One thing Michigan cannot do is do what they did against TCU last year. And they just got cute with the ball, running all this gimmicks and all this nonsense, which is not a part of their game. They are a power, ball-controlled offense. And you got to do that against a team like Alabama. Just slow it down. Play your game. give it to those running backs, Corbin Edwards, ball control. JJ McCarthy, he doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, let him control that game. Yeah, just keep that run offenses going. And I think if they can do that, they can win that game. I know Harbaugh likes to throw in a couple of trick plays in here and there. One's fine, but just do what got you there.
I agree.
I think if they do that, they can win that game.
Yeah, they do some stupid crap getting ready for a game, and it's like, dude, that's not what got you there in the first place. So I completely agree. But I'll have my comments after Dave. But Dave, what do you think about Alabama, Michigan? I know you said you don't like either team. So
yeah, can I?
So you're completely
Can I
unbiased.
hope that nobody wins? Unfortunately, somebody's got to.
Why do you dislike both teams? Let me ask you that before you get to the picks. Why do you dislike these teams?
First of all, it comes down to the coaches. I can't stand either coach.
Okay, understandable. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy on both of them.
Well, especially being a Seahawks fan with Harbaugh, and especially all his issues this year.
Yeah.
And I've never been a Saban fan, but it's that is what it is. And that's the main reasons is why I don't like them.
Okay.
Other than Michigan being in the Big Ten and when the Pac-10, Pac-12, Big Ten, where it's always in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, that was an old
always
matchup.
rooting
That's
for
the
the
classic
Pac-12.
matchup.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that matchup. That was fun. Yeah, the Rose Bowl was fun back in the day.
Yeah. But yeah, I was looking at some stats. That I think the key is going to be really in the first half. Because I saw some stat where in the first half, Michigan's outscored their opponents 251-65.
Yes.
So Michigan's got to come out fast. I mean, against Texas, TCU last year, I mean, they were behind early.
Yep.
And that killed them. They tried to mount that comeback, but they just didn't have enough. And that's actually the only game that JJ McCarthy has lost as a starter.
Yep. Yeah, he's like 22 or 23-1, something like that.
25-1. So yeah, I think what's going to come down to though overall is if the Michigan defense, it's been strong in the Big Ten, but that's Big Ten.
Yeah.
They're going against some high power and different type of offense that they see in the Big Ten. So it's whether they can slow down Alabama and the versatility of Jalen, Milroe, is that his last name?
Yeah. He's had a really good second half of the year.
Yeah, he has. Since he's come back, he's been on fire. So
yes,
if they could stop that versatility with not letting him get outside and running around and such. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to go with Alabama. I just don't think
a lot of people have Alabama winning it. I understand.
I just don't think Michigan has the firepower to be able to stay with Alabama because I think Alabama's going to score some points, even though I know the over-under is like 44, 45. I just think it's going to be a higher scoring game than that. Especially if Michigan if they do get behind and have to throw the ball to try to keep up, it's going to get to more of a shootout than people are expecting, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I just don't see it as the defensive struggle everybody's going to make it out to be. So yeah, sorry, kid.
Well, a lot of people have that, so I understand. Like I said, a lot of people are picking Alabama because Alabama's been Alabama the past decade. 5 national championships, and and there's even been a couple times where they lost the national championship game against Clemson a couple times and Georgia once. So they're always in the college football playoff. So, and Michigan has lost the first 2.
And I always like to see Harbaugh lose. So
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Harbaugh. Hey, it's understandable. I mean, Monty knows because we cover Harbaugh a lot on our show, and I am not the biggest Harbaugh guy. Even though I'm a Michigan fan, I question Harbaugh a lot myself. Other Michigan fans think he's the greatest thing in the world. I think he's very questionable. I'm not crazy about him, to be honest with you. I think he's all talk, so he needs to back it up. But
yeah. So one other stat I heard today. I think this is from Greg McElroy. Is that his name? The
yeah, the
former
old
Alabama
Alabama
quarterback.
quarterback, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he said that Michigan has only been behind 23 minutes and 29 seconds all year long.
Wow.
So if they
Yeah.
get behind, it's going to be interesting to see
Right.
how they act.
Yeah, they were behind a little bit in Ohio State.
If if Harbaugh starts panicking and try to do the gimmick plays that got him in trouble last year.
Yeah, the TCU game pissed me off. Monty knows that. The first year they made it with Georgia, I understood why, but the TCU game really had me pissed off at Harbaugh because he didn't prepare for that game, in my opinion.
Right.
And he's lost 6 bowl games. But here's my things for the game. Yes, Michigan does need to run the ball, but they don't need to run too much. What do I mean by that? They need to have a more balanced offense. They need to throw on some unpredictable downs because sometimes the Big Ten in general, especially Michigan, they get very predictable. Run on first and second down, pass on third down. The defense knows exactly what's coming. I'm not saying they need to throw all the time on first down, but they need to throw Alabama's defense off.
Okay.
Michigan has a good, not any like trick plays, like you said, don't get cute. They don't need to get cute, but they have a good tight end in Loveland.
Yes.
I think he's going to be the key to the game. The Michigan tight end needs to have a decent game, and a couple of receivers from Michigan need to come to play. Roman Wilson is decent, but he's not great. That's one thing that worries me about Michigan. Like the receivers are okay, but they're not like big standout receivers where they're getting looked at highly for the NFL. Is Roman Wilson a good athlete? Yeah, but Roman Wilson needs to have a couple of catches. He's their deep threat guy, but the big guy is Loveland, their tight end. And then there's a third receiver. He had a really good game in the Iowa game. He was number 6 or 9, but he had like 7 or 8 catches. Can't remember his name. Lost my train of thought. But he needs to have another game where he gets like 4 or 5 catches where he's keeping the chains moving. They need to be more balanced. Like I said, the run game could still be their strength, but I think it needs to be like a 60-40 game, not like an 80-20 game. So they need to even it out and keep Alabama on their toes by what they're doing. And J.J. McCarthy is the key to this game. He's the other key. His tight end and McCarthy. He has a 74%. He has a 74% completion percentage this year.
Yep.
19 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. But that was all mostly in the first 8 or 9 games of the year. In the last 3 games, they hardly passed the ball, and it kind of got him out of the rhythm. And their offense kind of stumbled a little bit. He needs to get back on track. And like I said, they don't need to throw like crazy, but they need to throw probably at least 20, 25 times this game. And then run the ball the other 30, 35 times, whatever. But McCarthy has to play good, and McCarthy has to use his legs. Like Dave was mentioning how good Jalen Miller was with his legs. Like
Yes.
McCarthy is no slouch with his legs either. Is he as fast as Milroe? No, but he's pretty dang fast. I had Josh, my son, look up McCarthy's 40 time, and Milroe's like a 4.4 guy, but McCarthy's around 4.5, so he's not slow. He's fast.
Fast for a quarterback.
He can run. He can run.
Yeah.
And he's done it in other games. I think that is going to be key. If he senses trouble, he needs to take off. You know, he needs to get a couple first downs with his legs to keep those chains moving. Like they need to avoid a lot of 3 and outs. If they get a couple 3 and outs here and there, that's fine. But if they have multiple 3 and outs, like 2 in a row, they're in a lot of trouble. But I do think Michigan's defensive backs can hang with Alabama's receivers. Michigan has really good defensive backs. Their main guy, the number 1 guy, came back from injury. He got hurt, I think, in the Ohio State game. He was covering Marvin Harrison Jr. and did a decent job. He's back. So Alabama has really good dynamic receivers that Dave was mentioning, like a different kind of offense, like what they've been facing in the Big Ten, like more of a power running offense. Teams in the Big Ten. So Alabama can do everything. So I think hopefully Michigan needs to get pressure on Milroe on defense, and hopefully they can get an interception or 2 from their defensive backs. If they do that, I think they could win this game. And force Alabama into field goals and not touchdowns. Make them kick the field goal and sell for 3 instead of trying to get 7. But I have some stats for their defenses. Michigan is number 2 defense overall, but that's a little not saying Michigan's defense isn't good. They're good, but they're playing against a lot of weaker teams in the Big Ten the first half of the year. And then Alabama's ranked 19 overall in defense. So both defenses are good.
Yes.
Alabama's passing defense only gives up 188 passing yards a game. So their strength is their passing defense. They're still decent on the run. I think that's gonna be another interesting thing. Is Michigan likes the run ball? Is Alabama a slouch in the run? No, but they are a little bit better on the passing side of the defensive side. So I'm hoping Michigan can run the ball against them a little bit. But they did stuff Georgia's run, so that's a little bit scary. But Michigan's had time to prepare for this game. I do like the two-headed monster with Blake Corum and Edwards. Corum's a speed guy, and Edwards is a power guy.
Yes.
They're a good 1-2 punch. I like what they do. So they just need to get them into the games together and kind of switch it up a bit. And like I said, pass to Loveland and pass to some of these other receivers to keep them off track. I got Michigan winning. I just hope I'm picking with my heart and not my head. My head is saying Michigan's probably going to lose. My heart is saying I want Michigan to win. I just hope, since this is Michigan's 3rd time in a row in the college football playoffs, they finally get over the hump and they can get this monkey off their back. I think if Michigan wins the first one, I think they'll win the national championship. I think if they get past this semifinal game I think they will be okay for winning the title. That's just me.
And see, that's the consensus I'm hearing. It's like, I don't know. That second semifinal,
it won't be an easy game, but they will be confident. I know that.
Yeah.
I expect this to be low scoring. I mean, Alabama has one of the best front sevens in college football, if not the best. You got Dallas Turner and can't remember the other guy's name, Chris Burwell or something like that. They're gonna have to block him to protect JJ.
Yeah,
McCarthy.
and one of Michigan's offensive linemen got hurt in the Ohio State game, like they're all American. That's what's scary too, is they do have a key lineman out, and that kind of hurt them in the Iowa game in the Big Ten championship. That hopefully they figured that out since they're a month off, where these guys hopefully they got that figured out, because that is a bad thing for Michigan. Their best offensive lineman had a season-ending injury in the second half of the Ohio State game. Either the first half or the second half you could tell he was done. Yeah, so that was very unfortunate.
So one thing I think Michigan will have to do is utilize their tight end.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in their game plan, because, I look at some stat. Alabama is like 101st in the country in tight end yardage allowed to tight ends.
Oh, wow.
So they have a good tight end. Yeah, Loveland's good. That'd be the key.
They can exploit that.
Yeah, so that's going to be a key. Just throw that, pass over the middle to the tight end. Just let him, go, because obviously that's one of Alabama's weaknesses, is covering the tight end.
Yep, and Michigan's got a good one, so hopefully that works out well. I agree. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I just hope it's a good game. I want Michigan to win. I just don't want it to be a blowout. As long as it's not a blowout, I'll be okay. If Harbaugh loses,
I hate that Florida State got left out, but I think these are the 4 best teams that give the 2 best games we can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
a lot of people think that.
Yeah.
So
I think Florida State is getting whooped right now by Georgia. It was 14-0 before I started this show. So
yeah.
So I think they're going to lose that game big, like everyone kind of
thinks. Yeah, I'm sure they will, because they have no offense. So
no.
The key is the tight end, like me and Dave said. The key is that tight end, man. If he can have a good game, it can happen. And McCarthy needs to avoid taking some bad sacks. So we'll see. But let's move on to the next game. Number 2, UW at number 3 against number 3 Texas.
Ooh,
a lot of people have Texas win this game. I think they're wrong. 67 or 68% of the country thinks Texas is going to win this game, and I don't necessarily believe that. Our good friend Brad, who we thought was going to be on the show, they thought when we covered the show like 3 weeks ago, talk about the college football playoff rankings show we did with Florida State being left out. That show, he said, because he doesn't like the Pac-12, he just is a straight SEC guy. He's like, the Pac-12 sucks, and they always get showed up. And he was just saying how Texas is going to beat the brakes off of UW. And me and Monty are like, not so fast, man. Michael
No.
Penix is pretty good.
Yeah,
And,
very good.
and
Yeah.
the running back is better than what people think. That guy is a good running back. If they could run the ball, like this could be a good game. And I don't know if Texas could stay with UW's receivers. UW, before they only had a Dunze, but then McWilliams came back because he was hurt most of the year. UW's number 2 receiver was hurt. He got hurt in the Michigan State game, and he is back. So now they just don't have a Dunze to go to. They have this McWilliams guy, number 11, and then they have a third guy to go to. I looked up his name for the show. And I just lost it. Polk.
Yeah.
Polk is decent too. So they have 3 really good receivers, a decent running back when they need to run the ball. So I think it's going to be a game. Well, Monty, what do you think about this game? What do you think are the keys to this game?
Well, I'm kind of like you, Ken, with Michigan. Yeah, Texas is going to have a hard time with Washington now. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to pick Texas just for my, with my head. I mean, but it's got to be tough. They're going to have to somehow figure out a way to limit Penix and that tandem with that receiver, Adunze, I believe.
Adunze is a beast. He's a first-round draft pick. But those other 2
that's
guys
going to
are
be
pretty good too.
tough in itself. Just, man. Hey, how about that? Looks like Brad's about to join us.
Joining. We got Brad.
How about that?
Okay.
Cool. So, one thing Texas has had a lot of trouble with is converting touchdowns in the red zone. They're towards the bottom, way towards the bottom on that. So a lot of their scoring has been on big plays. They're a big play offense. But once they reach that red zone against this Washington team, they're going to have to convert. They're going to need 6, not 3. That's going to be tough. And like I mentioned before, just containing Penix somehow. I mean, he's tough. He doesn't run very much, but man, he's accurate. And he and that receiver remind me a lot of what Eggman and Urban had. They're just on the same page. They're right here, just like this. I mean, very good tandem. I expect this to be a shootout, not a low-scoring game like Brad's Crimson Tide and your Wolverines, Ken. But I think this was going to be a shootout. And I got Texas.
Okay, let's catch Brad up on the show. So, hey, Brad, we already talked about Alabama, Michigan. We can get back to that after we get done with the Texas UW, so you can talk again. But we already kind of covered the Alabama-Michigan game, and we're talking about Texas and UW right now. So, of course, you know me and Monty, but this is my good friend Dave. I referee football games with him, so he's my mentor. So, Dave, I'll give it to you. Who do you think is going to win the Texas UW game? Then Brad can finish it, and then me and Brad can rehash the Michigan. I'll let Brad say his thing about Alabama for Michigan. We already talked about. I know that's Brad's main reason for being here, is talking about his Crimson Tide, Roll Tide. So, I can't stand them. He knows that, but I respect them. I respect the hell out of them. But Dave, I'll let you talk about UW Texas, and we'll get to my good friend Brad here about Alabama.
Sure. Well, like Monty, I think this is going to be higher scoring game, obviously, than the Michigan-Alabama game. Even I'm not really a Husky fan. I always root for Wazoo when they play Washington because of all the Washington people around here. Husky fans.
Yeah. Everyone's UW around here. Wazoo's on the other side of Washington.
But I love Kalen DeBoer as a coach. What he's done. Adunze and Polk, are both 1,000-yard receivers this year. I heard where Penix is the first quarterback since Mahomes to throw back-to-back 4,200-yard seasons.
Oh, wow.
So, obviously he lights it up. I know Texas has a huge defensive line.
Yeah, they're good. They're very good defensively.
Yes, they are. They're big up front, in the middle, speed guys on the outsides. But I don't know. I mean, Washington's got that Joe Moore or whatever best offensive line in the country award. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. That's where it's going to be won or lost, is the Washington offensive line against the Texas defense.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Because if Washington could give Penix time, then I don't think it's going to be. I'm not going to say much of a game. It'll be a game, but I think Washington will win it pretty. Maybe double digits, but I also saw a couple of different stats kind of going with the offensive and defensive lines. That the Washington offense has only had 43 plays, 0 or negative yards all year long.
Efficient.
And Texas' defense, 31% of their plays went for 0 or negative yards.
Yeah, their defense is legit.
So, that's the battle right there. That's win or lose.
Yep.
If Texas can dominate, I think Texas is going to win pretty easily. If Washington can keep them at bay, I think Washington wins. I have more confidence in Penix going after the Texas secondary, especially with their best safety being out for the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So Washington's going to have to do some damage, because he got the targeting call in the Big 12 championship.
Right. Good call. That's right.
So,
he did have
so he's out for the first.
I remember
half.
that.
So,
I watched that game.
So if they can light it up in the first half, get some points behind them, to get their confidence going. And Dylan Johnson's been a beast. The last 6 games. I mean, he has almost 800 yards. So,
UW's running back is better than what people think. They think
he is.
UW's running back is very good. Yeah, he's had multiple running games.
And also read where Penix has, of his 4,200 yards, 2,200 outside the numbers. And that's where Texas struggles, is outside the numbers with their secondary. They've given up I think, third most in college football outside the numbers.
Yeah.
Right. What's going to have to happen on the Washington defense is they're going to have to stop Ewers from throwing those intermediate passes. Because that's a lot of his yardage comes after the catch.
Yeah, they run after the
catch. If they can stop that, then I think they have a great chance to win. So I'm going to go with the Dogs.
Yeah, UW's defense is only ranked 90th. We know they're not very good defense, but they've had timely defense. Before I give it to Brad, that's what all the sports pundits are saying. UW isn't going to jump off this sheet on you on defense, but they've had timely defense ever since the Oregon State game. It seems like their defense has played, much better. They've had 3 or 4 good defensive games in a row. Or after that Utah game, when they shut out Utah in the second half when they were down at halftime, then they should just shut them out. So they played better. So sometimes the stats can be tricky. But overall, Texas' defense is way better. We know that. But UW is better maybe than some people think. Are they lights out? No, but they've been timely. They get timely sacks and timely turnovers that kind of help them win games. Well, I agree with you, Dave. Before I get to Brad, I think if Texas can't cover UW's receivers, it's going to be a long day for Texas. But if they can cover UW's receivers, then I think Texas has a really good chance. Because Texas should be able to score points against UW. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's going to be a shootout. But
yes.
But like I said before Brad got on, what I said, Brad, before I give it to you is before UW's main receiver Odunze is really good, and they had other receivers hurt, but they came back. Their number 2 receiver came back in the Oregon State game, McMillan. So now they have more than this one guy to throw to for Penix. So that's going to be huge for UW. And they have 3 really good receivers, and their number 2 guy, McMillan, number 11, is back. He had a really good game against Oregon. He killed Oregon. He actually had a better game than Odunze did. So UW has a lot of threats offensively, and the running back is better than advertised. Like they said, he can run, and he killed Oregon on the run. He rushed for like 130 or 140 yards against Oregon. I think maybe more than that. He killed them. He crushed them on the ground. They crushed him. So that was surprising. But what do you think, Brad? Who do you got for you, Texas? I know you got Texas, but what's your thoughts on the game? How the game's going to go?
I think Texas joined the SEC last year. They just haven't done it officially yet. Stark came from the SEC. He knew that Texas was going to be moving over, and he started building that team early to play in the SEC. That's why that defensive line is a monstrosity. Like, if you look at them, they look like Alabama or Georgia.
Yeah.
It's when Kirby Smart left and went to Georgia, he rebuilt Alabama. When Sark left and went to Texas, he rebuilt Alabama. So now when Texas is officially in the SEC, the rest of the country is going to have to contend with 3 Alabamas. And Washington, I don't think, is ready for that. The Pac-12 is as high-powered as the offenses are in the Pac-12. They just don't have the caliber of defense that they need to play with teams like the SEC and even a Michigan or an Ohio State out of the Big Ten. I think that Texas is their secondary is their weak point, but what I see happening is, as good as Penix is, if his receivers can't get open fast enough, he's going to get crushed because his offensive line is not going to be able to handle the Texas defensive line. They're not.
Okay.
And I think that he's gonna see fits, and unless this kid becomes a Michael Vick or a Jalen Hurts or something and just gets mad running skills and starts running all over the field, he's gonna be in trouble. The only way I see Washington winning is if they put up 50 points and just outrun them.
I don't think it'll be that high scoring, but it's gonna be high scoring. But I don't know about 50. That's a lot.
Well, yeah, it is.
They only scored 27 last year and beat them.
Yeah.
Well, and that was last year too.
Yeah, but
In the Alamo Bowl.
same
Yeah, that was one
personnel,
of the better bowl
basically.
games. What's that, Dave? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Same personnel, basically.
Pretty much.
You know, I think one of the key on the offensive side for Texas is if Worthy's fully not 100%.
Oh, the receiver. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the number one guy. Yeah.
You know,
Ruby's good.
so,
yeah.
You know, because Washington secondary is obviously suspectable too.
UW does have a really good defensive back. Can't remember his name, but he's their best corner, and he's had multiple interceptions this year. And he played good against Oregon State and Wazoo and some other games I watched this year. He's a legitimate NFL prospect. The rest of the secondary is just okay, but this one kid for UW, that one defensive back is legit. He needs to get some turnovers from, or at least get some pass breakups. So he's a legit, probably first or second rounder in the NFL. So
you know what's an interesting storyline that I haven't heard it mentioned at all? How Sarkisian's going against his former team. Because he was the coach up here for 2 or 3 years. You know, and I had never heard that mentioned at all.
He didn't work out for him up here. Wasn't he having all the drinking issues back then?
Yeah,
he got fired pretty quickly. Yeah, he had a big drinking problem.
Yeah, and then he if he ends up playing Alabama, he's going to be going against another team that he coached at.
That's right.
Because he was the OC at Alabama for a few years. The thing that scares me the most about Washington, and I mean, you know, I'm not a fan of the Pac-12, just because I'm a defensive-minded football guy. But if you look at who Washington played this year, they didn't really play anybody that has I don't want to say doesn't have a pedigree, because Oregon's another Pac-12 team. High-powered offense, not really stellar on defense. But if you look at, like, when they played Arizona State, they beat a 1-6 Arizona State by 7 points, I believe it was. It was either 7 or 9
Yeah,
points.
they struggled the second half of the season. They allowed one-score games against mediocre teams. That was one thing we talked about last show.
We're talking about Pac-12 bottom feeders.
Yeah, but they did win. So,
well, yeah, they did win.
Yeah.
Florida
found a
State
way.
was undefeated, and look where they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
true.
winning doesn't get you there.
Well, I
Look-
mean, everybody has, obviously Washington had more than their fair share, because, I mean, I know you're a big Alabama fan, but if they don't hit 4th and 31, they're not there either.
Oh
Right.
yeah, that was
So-
crazy.
But
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I mean, every team had their share of close calls and such, but Washington, yeah, had more than their handful they needed.
Yeah, and that's what kind of took Penix out of the. I still think he should have won the Heisman over LSU guy, but that's what kind of probably made Penix number 2, like me and Monty talked about, is because he kind of fell off in the second half, but he did bounce back nicely in the Oregon UW, Pac-12 championship game, which that's where I thought he had re-won the Heisman back, because that was, in my mind, that was a Heisman moment that you got your team into the CFP. But yeah, but I understand why James Downs won it, because his stats are off the roof. But I wanted Penix to win it, though. And I'm not a UW fan, so I wanted Penix to win it. I was unbiased. I wanted Penix. So, yeah. But like I said, I think the keys are just going to be how well UW could throw the ball, like everyone's kind of been saying. It's all going to be how good UW's passing game is in their But one thing that can help them out, Brad, is I'm telling you, UW's running back can run the ball. If Penix is struggling, hopefully that running back for UW can get some decent carries and kind of keep them in the game. So he's a beast, man. Texas cannot overlook him. I'm sure they're not, but
no.
But he is good. I'm telling you, this guy's good, and he's powerful. I mean, he can run people over.
Yeah, and one of the strengths for him, I know Texas is huge on the middle of the defensive line, is, Dylan Johnson likes to
That's
go
his name,
outside.
Johnson. Yeah, Dylan Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to go, outside the tackle, and run people over there. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well,
We'll see.
That's about his only option against those
Yeah.
forces.
Yeah.
Well, Oregon's defense was better than what you thought, Brad. But I agree with you overall, because Pac-12 overall is not a good defensive conference. That's very true. I don't think anyone would argue that. But Oregon is better defensive than what you think. They were ranked in the top 20. They're ranked right where Texas is at. Because I was covering how good the defenses were ranked this year. Michigan's number 2 overall ranked. Alabama's 19. Texas is 23 overall. And I think Oregon's like right around that landmark, like 22 or 23. They're like right there with Texas overall defense.
But you can't just look at their stat rankings. You got to
Right,
go off the
because
caliber
we're
of the
talking about who they're
competition,
playing.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Things can be misleading because it's all about who you're playing. I know what you're saying. So, but we'll see how this goes. Let's get back into for you, Brad. I covered Alabama, Michigan. I said what Michigan would have to do, and Monty and Dave kind of said the same thing. Is McCarthy needs to have a good game. I think Michigan needs to have a more balanced offense to have a chance to not run the ball 80% of the time. McCarthy needs to have a really good game on the passing side, like making it balanced. Obviously, their strength is to run the ball. So I'm not saying they shouldn't run, but it can't be like I said it can't be like an 80-20 running game. It has to be more like a 60-40 where, Michigan has to keep Alabama's defense off track a little bit and throw on unexpected downs like first down and stuff like that. Michigan does have a good tight end, though. That's what we think can possibly help Michigan out, is their tight end is legit. So if the tight end can have a good game and McCarthy can scramble, McCarthy is a good scrambler. He's not as good as Jalen Milroe, but McCarthy does know how to scramble. He's good. That's one thing I think that can help keep Michigan in the game. And like Dave said, Michigan needs to have a really good first half. They can't get off to a slow start because Michigan's their stats this year. Michigan has dominated in the first half, but they haven't played a team like Alabama. We all know that. So we're just wondering. I think Michigan has to stay in the game in the first half to stay in this game, because even though Michigan's ranked number 1, most people have Alabama winning, and I understand why, because Alabama's won a lot. So what's your thoughts on the game? I know obviously you got Alabama, that's a no-brainer, but what's your keys to this game for Alabama to have a lot of success on Michigan?
Penalties. If Alabama can play and keep the penalties to a minimum, they'll win. If you look at them throughout the season, every game that they've struggled in, they've had multiple penalties. The games where they've dominated their opponent, they've had either minimal or no penalties. That's been their downfall this whole year, well, especially early on in the year. I mean, I don't remember. It was South Florida. I think it was. They gave up 21 points and 110 yards in the first half on penalties.
Mhm.
It was insane. But you got a young team, you have an inexperienced team, but they've come together over the season. They've gotten better at it. They started coming out of that, doing better, and then it showed its ugly head against Auburn again. Luckily, Auburn's a wild card every year because it's the Iron Bowl, and
Right.
literally,
Yeah, throw the records out the
think,
window there.
Yeah.
yeah, the football gods just like torturing everybody that's an Alabama or an Auburn fan every single year. They hate us and just want to make us all cry, or either that or they own stock in all the blood pressure medication companies because I had to up mine twice this year. Michigan, I think Michigan's got an extremely talented team, and they can't. The two things that Michigan has to do is they have to get the shot plays.
Mhm.
They can play consistently. They can play balance. They can play short game. They can play long game. They can do whatever they want. But they have to get the shot plays. Like you were talking about, throwing passes on first down. It ain't got to be a big pass. They just got to be successful.
Mhm.
They don't have to throw the 80-yard bombs down the field. They just have to do the things that are unexpected to have success. And you're talking about they got to survive the first half. They got to survive the second half.
Well, that too. That's
If you
true.
look at Alabama, every game this year, Alabama struggled in the first half.
Yeah,
and
that's
they've
true.
crushed everybody in the
No, that's a
second
very
half.
good point. Very good point. Yes. That's true.
So-
You guys survive the whole game. I still need to get off to a good start. If they're down big, I think it's over. If they're down big in
Mhm.
first half, that's what I'm saying. It's over. But you're
Well,
right.
you also got
Alabama's
to,
a very good second half team.
yeah, they've been extremely dominant in the second half this year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good game. The biggest thing that I think will be the problem for Michigan is the Bama factor.
Right.
I mean, they're playing the juggernaut, and
Right.
they
You know,
can't let that get to them.
Mhm.
I
And
agree. Yeah.
I think they'll be okay with that simply because of the fact that they lost Harbaugh twice this year and did fine without him.
Right.
So I think, well, I won't say they did fine, but they survived. So they're used to playing with pressure.
Right.
I think they'll be able to handle that pressure. I just don't know if they'll survive it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're ready for it this year.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said to open the show, this is Michigan's third time in a row in the college football playoffs. I'm hoping this year they can finally have some success. We'll see, because obviously Harbaugh won't get fired if he loses the game, because he's beat Ohio State 3 years in a row to get to the CFP, so he's not going to get fired. But the critics will be on him big time, including me, because I'm not a big Harbaugh guy. I'm Michigan. I've always been questionable about Harbaugh, but if he loses, yeah, the critics are going to be on his case again, because they'll be like 3 times in a row Michigan can't get it done, and they choke and stuff like that. That's the kind of things they're going to hear if they lose this game, especially if they lose bad. If they lose a close game where it's a lights out game and someone wins on a game winning drive at the end, that's respectable. But even with that, he still needs a win. They won't be on him quite as hard if he loses a close game, especially if it comes down to like the last drive. But I think he needs to win no matter what. Like, not to keep his job, but just to keep because he has a job there at Michigan, but he needs it. He needs to silence the critics. Like they've been saying the whole entire time, all these commercials, Michigan needs to change the narrative. This is their year to kind of change the narrative. If not, it's going to be the same narrative. It's like Groundhog Day. It's going to be the same narrative. They keep
Right.
on losing in the CFP. So we'll
Well,
see.
but you can't really blame. See, everybody expects a different outcome, and if he goes into the CFP this year and loses to Saban, his job's fine because it's Saban.
Well, it's fine. Yeah.
If he beats Saban and then goes on to lose to Washington or Texas, that's bad because it's not Saban.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I think if
I mean,
Michigan still,
granted-
yeah.
He still made it to the national championship game or the CFP playoffs. It's like when I hear people complaining about Alabama having a 10-2 season, or yeah, we didn't make it to the college football playoff, but we still won the Iron Bowl, but that's not good enough. Just shut up.
Yeah.
You got
can't
one of
do
the
it every
best
year.
teams in the country. You're crushing teams every year.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a good point there.
Which, yeah, y'all just beat Ohio State 3 years in a row, which y'all haven't done in how many years?
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a while.
Right.
No, you have a very good point. Yeah. Some people do expect too much. I get your point. I think what's hurting Harbaugh more, though, is just because he's lost other bowl games besides the 2 in a row in the CFP. He's lost 6 in a row, and he's lost like against teams that aren't like a powerhouse like Alabama. Like he's lost to like 8-4, 7-5 teams in these bowl games before that, because like they just seem to like not play their best during bowl season because they struggle when they have a month off. That's Michigan's like Achilles. So that's what I think he's facing. It's not about losing in a CFP necessarily. It's about he's lost 6 bowl games in a row, and they've looked bad in some of these bowl games. It's like before in the past, they would lose to Ohio State and their season was just sunk. They wouldn't show up in the bowl game. I'm like, come on, man. I know you lost Ohio State and it sucks, but you still got a game to play, and you can save your season if you win a good bowl game. I mean, like, it's like they just, like, I won't say quit, but they just come out really flat after they lose, to Ohio State in years past. That's why he's lost all these bowl games in a row. So that's why I think he needs to win a bowl game, is because he's lost so many of them. He's on this losing streak.
They got to give him time to build that culture back too. It's hard when you're going against a culture like, and I know everybody hates to hear it, but when you're going against a culture like Alabama, because if you look at Alabama like last year, okay, Alabama didn't make the playoff last year. How many of their players that got drafted to the NFL sat out of their bowl game?
Yeah.
None.
Yep. That's awesome.
Not
We talked about that to start the show about players sitting out. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And the reason they did that is because at Alabama, it means more.
Yeah.
But that's part of that culture that's been built there. And
I agree.
like they were talking about in the Notre Dame game last night, Sam Hartman sat out because he didn't want to hurt his NFL chances. Honestly, good. I'm glad that he did, because the backup kid got in there and played lights out and pretty much solidified his starting job next year.
Yeah. Yep.
But it made me lose a lot of respect for Sam Hartman because he sat out instead of playing with his team. I hate when they do that. It drives me nuts. I get why they do, but I hate it.
About that, Brad. That's one thing we agree on.
What?
We don't agree with Alabama, Michigan, but I agree. I said the same thing, not about Sam Hartman in particular, but to open the show, I said I don't agree with players sitting out of these bowl games. So we opened the show.
Hey,
actually,
I love Michigan as long as they're not playing Alabama.
I'm with you, brother.
I'll root for anybody that beats Ohio State.
Yeah, there you go. I'm with you on that. There's a couple things we agree on. But hopefully it's hopefully just like we said to start the CFP. Hopefully these games are good as advertised, and they're both really good games, and hopefully both these games come down to the wire where it's like a really good game with still like 3 or 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and you don't know who's going to win the game. So hopefully these games are like that. So let's move on to the NFL, though. Are you going to stay for the NFL, Brad, or are you going to get off? Because we're going to do NFL real quick before we close out.
Yeah, I'll stay. I mean, I learned a little bit more about kind of what's going on.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's do that. Thank God that we upgraded, Monty, because we've been on for almost an hour already. We've been done like 20 minutes ago on this show. I upgraded.
Wow, that all went fast, man.
Yeah, this is going to be a long video, but it's been good. So NFL, my wife texted me really quick. Hold on, what's she saying? I think she said she's coming home. Okay, she's shopping in Federal Way. All right. Make sure it was nothing serious. All right. So NFL, we have a lot of things to talk about NFL. Obviously, towards the end of the season, we have a lot of AFC and NFC teams still in the hunt. We have Russell Wilson, being benched. So let's talk about that first. Dave, I'll start with you because I know you're a Seahawks fan.
Yes.
So I'll pick on you. What's your thing on Russell Wilson? I'm sure you don't like him because he left the Seahawks and played for Denver. So what's your take on Russell
No,
Wilson being benched?
actually, I do like him because he got some
Okay.
good draft picks.
Yeah.
All right.
Because he sucks so bad. Um, Devin,
What's
what
your
is
take
this
on him
when you
being
want to
benched
be?
though? Sometimes some people say it's because of his contract, like what happened with Derek Carr last year, where when he left the Raiders, he couldn't play the last couple games because there's something weird on both their contracts where if you get hurt at the end of
With
the year, you
his
can't.
injury guarantee or something.
Yeah, that's why they're saying he's being benched. So you think it's because of that or because he's been sucking? He's actually had a better year this year.
He's not having that bad of a
He's had a
season.
good year, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their defense is what's terrible.
Yeah.
That was their strength last year, and he sucked last year. But I don't know. Sean Payton just going in. He didn't want Russell Wilson as quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, that was apparent from day one. And I don't know. I don't know if you saw the rant that Ryan Clark from ESPN went on.
No.
I'm in total agreement with him that Sean Payton's being a thug about this, and just he didn't want Russell Wilson, and so he's not going to have Russell Wilson.
I got you.
And obviously, by Russell's tweet that he sent out earlier today, he's going to be gone. It sounds like, which it's fine. So I just think it was totally mishandled. And I can actually see Russell's reasoning for coming out publicly, just the way he's been treated there. That they asked him to redo his contract or be benched. To make that public. I think everything should have been done behind closed doors, but
yes.
It is what it is.
Wrong.
And I mean, hopefully he finds a place to land. I'm not a big Russell Wilson hater. I mean, I love what he
I'm
did
not
for
either.
the
I like him,
Seahawks.
but it hasn't worked out in Denver. I know that.
No, it hasn't. It worked out for the Seahawks overall. When he went to Denver. So, but hopefully he finds a good place to land and can be successful again. Because I mean, he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory when he was in Seattle.
He had a lot of good years.
So
he always seemed to keep them in the game and make those game-winning plays in the end. He had a lot of game-winning drives in Seattle. So I remember that.
But I mean, it's just a bad situation there. Two personalities that just didn't get along.
I agree with that completely. I don't like the way Sean Payton started off the season too with the New York Jets was very interesting too.
Yeah.
Comments he made about the ex-Denver coach. He's kind of being he's being kind of heartless. He's being ruthless, like you said. What's your thoughts, Monty, on this situation?
I wasn't sure what was going on with Russell Wilson. I have a coworker that's a Denver fan, and before Russell Wilson came out with what really happened with his contract, I know there were a couple of this last game against New England, or it may have been the game before even, where he Omaha changed a couple of plays that Sean Payton didn't really agree with, and that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back there. So we thought before this came out. And like we talked about before, like Dave alluded to, there's no secret that Sean Payton didn't want him there anyway.
Right.
I thought this would work out for Russell because Sean Payton's historically is a good coach for quarterbacks. And I thought he would turn him around a little bit. He made him better. I mean, he sure is better than what he was last year. That's for sure. But at the same time, I don't blame Russell Wilson for telling the truth about what happened. That, hey, they're forcing me out of here. And, they're benching me. It's not my decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel bad for him. I was rooting for him because of that terrible season he had last year. I was hoping he'd get better. And
he did.
I hate to see it. And where he's going to go next year, who knows? I don't know if anybody's going to want to touch him after this.
Oh, I think he'll land a job.
Think so?
Yeah. His stats were pretty good. I looked at it. His quarterback rating, his QBR was like 98 or something, which has been his best in the past like 3 or 4 years. So
Yeah,
he had a decent.
yeah. Outside these last 4 games,
Last year he
good.
sucked, and everyone thought he was going to get off the good start. He thought he was going to be the savior for Denver. He didn't, and they had that really bad year, being 5-12, and their offense only scored like 16 points a game or something, like one of the worst in the NFL. Last year. This year their offense was better, but they still struggled as a whole. But his stats were better. I know that their offense wasn't that great still, but it was improved though. But they still struggled overall in a lot of offensive categories. But Russell Wilson's stats, from a personal perspective, like a personal stat wise, he was pretty good. You got any?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3,000 yards and 26-8 interception or touchdown interception
Yeah,
ratio.
I'm saying
So
his QBR was really good. Yeah. Yeah, his QBR was very good. Do you have any thoughts on this, Brad, or you want us to move on to the next subject? You know anything about Russell Wilson?
Well, I was just watching or reading an article about this last night. This kind of stuff is kind of why I kind of quit watching the NFL, was because all the contract nonsense and underhanded crap that they do to players. The way that they did Russell Wilson with this is he came into this team and then they agreed to this contract knowing full well that this could happen.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and try to get him to change it. Not that they tried to get him to renegotiate his contract, but that they threatened to bench him for the rest of the season. Like, I fully get, hey, we're in this situation. We need to rework the numbers. But to turn around and bench him and risk costing him his career by making him lose those stats, lose that productivity, now you're messing with his livelihood.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put a business that's not going anywhere at risk.
Yeah.
And for that organization to do that is trash. It's garbage.
And the problem is the Denver fans seem okay with the decision. That's the bigger problem too, is everyone seems to be agreeing with Sean Payton in the Denver Broncos world. They're crazy. So,
well, it's because Sean Payton won a Super Bowl in New Orleans, and they want him to win one in Denver, but it's not going to happen because
no.
Well, I mean, you've never seen him act this way with Drew Brees.
No.
The way he has with Russell Wilson, not at all.
Drew Brees is the reason why he won a Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Yes.
Sean Payton is not that great a coach.
Exactly. Drew Brees took him to the Super Bowl twice. They went 1-1, and the 1 year, everyone thought they'll be back for a third time. They had that controversial no call on the defensive pass interference against the Rams, and the Rams got to the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots with one of Tom Brady's last years there. So, yeah, they almost could have been to the Super Bowl for a third time. A lot of people thought they should have been there, but I agree. The Denver Broncos organization is not looking good at all. I don't have a whole lot of respect for Sean Payton, but even when I did it earlier in the year with the whole, like I said, like I mentioned earlier with the New York Jets thing and what he was saying about the New York Jets coach, the guy's just a punk. I mean, he's made a lot of crazy comments this year. So, not liking that guy at all.
Well, I've never been a big fan of Russell Wilson. I mean, he's extremely talented, but I've just never been a big fan of him as a quarterback. So to me, it's neither here nor there whether he plays or not. But the way that team has done him is just garbage.
Yeah, it is. I think we all agree on that. Yeah, that's surprising. So let's go to Tyrod Taylor. Do you guys think Tyrod Taylor should be playing or Tommy DeVito? They said Tyrod Taylor is going to start this week or tomorrow. DeVito was playing well, had won 3 games in a row, but then they dropped a couple. But I mean, he hasn't played bad. I mean, the New York Giants just aren't very good. So is it DeVito? I just think it suck.
I don't understand that move. The Giants are not going anywhere anyway.
Exactly.
Might as well finish the season with them.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, you're going to put in Tyrod Taylor's not bad. His career, I think he's 500.
He's good.
But let this guy play. Maybe he's not going to start next year. Daniel Jones is. But Play these games as a dress rehearsal to play somewhere else.
Yeah,
Tyrod Taylor's already proven.
I agree.
I don't understand why they benched him.
Yeah, he still had 2 more games to prove himself for another team. I agree. Tyrod Taylor is a proven veteran. Had some really good years in Buffalo. Took him to the playoffs a couple times. Like I said, Tyrod Taylor's been in the league for like 10 years, and this Tommy DeVito kid is a rookie, undrafted, I believe, came out of nowhere and came onto the scene winning those 3 games in a row for the Giants, which hasn't happened. They haven't won 3 games in a row in a long time, and he came.
You just answered your own question right there.
Yep.
Who's a bigger hit against the salary cap, Tyrod Taylor or DeVito?
Oh yeah. Yep, you're right.
So they're going to put Tyrod Taylor in, let him showcase, trade him in the offseason, and then DeVito will be the number 2 next year.
You're right.
Yeah.
I like the way you think, Brad.
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't think of it that
That's
way.
very
Right.
good. That's some
true.
very good analysis there.
Yeah.
I agree. Tyrod Taylor is getting paid a lot more money, and yeah, this Tom DeVito guy is barely making. Well, he's making a lot more than we are, but he's on a like rookie salary. So I agree.
Yep.
So let's talk about AFC and NFC teams in the hunt. So for the AFC, we have number 1 Ravens at 12-3, 2 Dolphins at 11-4, 5 seed is the Browns at 11-5, 3 seed is the Chiefs at 9-6, 4 seed is the Jags at 8-7, 6 seed is Bills 9-6, 7 seed is Colts at 8-7. Then there's 3 8-7 teams in the bubble: Texans, Bengals, and Steelers. So Monty, who do you think? I think we lost Dave, but Monty, who do you think is going to come out? Who do you think could get a spot out of those 3 remaining teams? Texans, Bengals, Steelers. Who do you think is going to get in this thing?
Man, it's funny. Every time I pick against the Steelers, they surprise me. It's my heart says the Texans. Actually, my head says the Texans. Out of the 3, I think they've been the most consistent for the season.
Yeah,
Out
that
of
rookie
those 3
quarterback
teams
for
you
Ohio
mentioned.
State has really had a good year. He's the runaway for Rookie of the Year, probably. There's no doubt about that. He's killed it.
Yeah, so no, not necessarily my head, just based on facts. They have been the most consistent team of the 3. So yeah, I think they'll get that last spot.
The Texans are playing. Who are they playing this week? I got the list of games right here. They're playing the Titans, so they could very well win that game at
Very
home.
winnable.
I can't remember who their last game is, but they are playing the Titans, so that looks very favorable to them.
Yeah, schedules are set up to play a division rival the last game for sure. In case something like this happens, you're on the bubble. You got the last 2 teams battling it out, so they're most likely playing maybe Indy or somebody in their division. I don't have the schedule up right now, but yeah, I think the Texans might get that last spot.
The Bengals are playing at the Chiefs, and the Steelers are playing against Dave's Seahawks. So I do think the Texans probably have the best chance based on that alone. What do you think, Dave?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the Texans played the Colts the last week.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the Texans. I mean, CJ Stroud's back. I think they're going to end up getting that last spot.
Do you think since you're a Seahawks fan, I'll ask you this, Dave. Do you think the Seahawks will hold on to the last spot? Well, that's the NFC. We'll talk about that later. But anyways, that's a question for next week.
I mean, I just don't see Jacksonville staying in there with Trevor Lawrence out this week.
Yeah, good point.
I know they're who are they playing this week? I think they're playing Carolina though.
Mm-hmm.
So they should win, but I just think Houston's the team is going to get that last spot.
Yeah, that's AFC. But we're on that. I went to the NFC on accident, but I agree.
Did you?
I think the Seahawks will stay in, but
we'll get
on that in the NFC though here in a minute. What do you think, Brad? Do you think Texans got it, or do you think the Bengals or Steelers will get in? Steelers are very unpredictable, like Monty said, very unpredictable.
I think the Texans got the best chance, but I'm also kind of biased because they got Will Anderson. It's the Alabama fan coming out. I love that kid. He's another one of those that's just he was a great kid when he was at Alabama. He's like a Jalen Hurts, man. He was just he's a great kid, and I want to see him have nothing but success. So I hope they go like through the roof. But it's not a football call. It's just I just want to see that kid do great things.
I got
All
you.
right.
Yeah, because
All right.
And CJ Stroud's another one he's an awesome kid. So
he is.
As much as it
Yeah.
pains me to see somebody from Ohio State do good, I hope he does.
Yeah, he is a good kid. Yeah, he does. He is good. I noticed that at Ohio State his last year there, you could tell by his interviews and even when his parents have talked to him and stuff like that, you could tell he's been raised the right way. Good young man.
Him and Bryce Young like have known each other since middle school.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they've been competing against each other a long time. Yep.
Yep.
Very true. Yeah, I think Houston's got the best chance. And they are all good kids. That's the main thing. I go for that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope CJ Stroud gets in the playoffs just for that reason alone. And he's having a great rookie year. And he's definitely the rookie of the year runaway. Let's talk about NFC though. I popped the question on you early, Dave. Sorry, because the Seahawks are obviously in the NFC. But so number 1, 49ers, 11-4. Eagles, number 2, 11-4. Lions, 3, 11-4. Cowboys, 5 seed, 10-5. Bucs are the 4 seed, 8-7. The NFC South is garbage in my opinion. 6 Rams at 8-7. 7 Seahawks, Dave Seahawks 8-7. Vikings are in the hunt at 7-8. Packers are in the hunt at 7-8. Saints are in the hunt at 7-8, and the Falcons are still in the hunt at 7-8 because no one's won that division yet in the NFC South with the Saints and the Falcons. So they're all still alive. And the Bucs are the Bucs right now are in the playoffs, being the 4 seed, 8-7. But that
they're leading that division, right?
Yeah, they're in the same division. The NFC South is still up for grabs, so someone else can take over the 4 seed for the Bucs. Dave already answered. He thinks the Seahawks will get in. And I asked Dave, will the Seahawks stay the number 7 seed? I think they will. But Monty, who do you got? Who do you have? Do you think someone might slip in past the Seahawks? Do you think the Seahawks have it?
No, I like the Seahawks to get that last spot. And I think it would make for a real good NFC playoff. The Seahawks is a team that I would think nobody wants to play. As a Cowboy fan, I don't want to play them again. That's for sure. Man,
Yeah.
As a Cowboy fan, you shouldn't want to play anybody right now.
Yeah. They got their own problems against the Chiefs.
That's bad. That's mean, but you're right, Brad. We're sucking right now. Hope we bounce back.
You and the Eagles fans shouldn't be wanting to play anybody right now.
Oh yeah,
both of them are sucking.
Yeah, they are. They're both playing bad football at the wrong time of year. You are right about that, brother. Well, I think the Cowboys will bounce back tonight, though.
Yeah. But yeah, Dave, I think our Seahawks can make a lot of noise and maybe pull off an upset in the playoffs. So I'd like to see them make it.
Yeah. I think for the Seahawks, they got to continue. Obviously, Geno Smith needs to play well, but that running game needs to get going. Dave Carroll or whatever, Carroll likes to pride himself on that running game, and they have 2 good running backs. Second year Kenneth Walker at Michigan State, and then the rookie running back Charbonnet at UCLA. They're both pretty good. So if they get that running game going, Seahawks chances are pretty good. And that's what their coach likes to do. And they have really good receivers, though. Also DK Metcalf, what do you call him, Monty Megatron 2.0 or something? Or
I call him TO 2.0.
Yeah, he's a
reminds me a lot of TO.
And that Ohio State receiver Najigba has really come on strong the last 4 or 5 games. He's been killing it. So Seahawks offense has gotten a lot better all of a sudden. Najigba has really helped them out. Even against our Cowboys, he was having a killer game. He was scaring me. He was destroying the Cowboys. Even though we won that game, Najigba was going off, man. What's your thoughts, Brad, on who you think will slip in? Do you think the Seahawks will keep it, or do you think one of those other teams like the Vikings or the Packers might get in?
Honestly, I haven't really paid much attention because I think that it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if the 49ers keep doing what they're doing, they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys and the Eagles are just competing for second place.
Mm-hmm.
The only chance that anybody has is if the 49ers just fall flat on their face. Because from what I saw last weekend, they look unstoppable. I think it was last weekend.
Yeah, they play against Baltimore blew them out. Actually, that was surprising. Baltimore blew out San Francisco. That surprised the crap out of me.
Oh,
but they do look really
Baltimore's
good
just on
overall.
a roll right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Baltimore beat the crap out of San Francisco. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be a good game. That was a blowout. So, yeah, that was on Christmas.
There was a game I just saw where they just trashed somebody. I don't remember.
Yeah,
who
they've
it
been
was.
trashing people all year long, but they had a setback last week on Christmas.
The Ravens.
Against the Ravens, yeah, but
Yeah.
they were lights out up until that point. They were on fire, but they got cooled off. But
the interesting thing's going to be to see what happens week 18. I mean,
Mhm.
if Seattle beats Pittsburgh this week, they go against Arizona week 18. The Rams have the Niners. If the Niners are playing for something still and have to win, I mean, will the Rams be out if they end up losing? It just comes down to tiebreakers with Green Bay, Minnesota, whomever.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the Seahawks could sneak into that number 6 seed. If the Rams end up losing to the Niners, then the Seahawks went out. So, they've already gone to Detroit and won.
right,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
Seattle's
true.
beat some good teams.
Yes.
they did. They started the
They
season
beat
really
Philadelphia,
well.
Detroit.
Wow.
On the road in Detroit, they played Dallas tough. So,
No,
Yeah.
they have played tough. Yeah, they had a good start to the season, and they kind of fell off for like 4 or 5 games, and they got in
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Let's go some picks real quick, but make this fast because this show has been going a while. I love it though. We've had a great show, but I don't want to
Yeah.
make it too. I don't want to make it too long to download because it might take forever. Tonight's game, Lions at Cowboys. Who do you got? Just say who you got really quick. Of course, me and Monty have the Cowboys. That's obvious. But who do you guys got, Dave and Brad? Lions or Cowboys? Is that Cowboys?
I originally was going to go with the Cowboys, but I'm going to go with the Lions. After doing some more looking today, I just think Detroit's going to have the offensive line to stay on the field.
Okay.
Right.
I hope the Cowboys bounce back at home like they always have. They're undefeated at home,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
they need
on the
right.
road. They're 3-5
Yeah.
on the road, but they're undefeated at home.
And
So
40 points at home. So
yeah, that's interesting. Who do you got, Brad? Cowboys or
I'm
Lions?
I'm gonna go with the Lions. I got 2 reasons: one, Jameson Williams, and 2, Fly Eagles Fly.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Roger that.
let me
Nice.
actually I'll say Fly Jalen and Devontae Fly
Okay.
because I'm not really an
Roger that.
Eagles fan.
Okay. Next game, Titans at Texans. I think we all got the Texans, but does anyone
Yeah.
disagree on that? We all try and talk about Texans will get in, so I think we all believe
Yeah.
the Texans will win this game. Falcons
I
at the
agree.
Bears. I got the Falcons, but the Bears are playing better this year. They're still not going to make the playoffs, but they look like they have a little bit of life in them. With the other Ohio State quarterback playing there. They look a little bit better, but I still think I got the Falcons to win this game on the road. They're playing for
Yes, they-
fives, and I think they'll pull this one out because they got a lot on the line. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why I'm opting for the Falcons as well, because they still have a playoff chance. If Tampa Bay doesn't win out, the Falcons have a chance to get in and win that division. So yeah.
I just love the way Fields is playing now. I'm going to have to go with the Bears.
yeah, he's
Okay.
playing
Yeah, he's
lights
playing
out.
well.
Like he's really
Right.
improved the last month. I agree. That's why the
Right.
Bears are better this year than they have been in the past in a while, 3 or 4 years. So they're not going to make it this year, but they're playing better though. They're playing better. Who do you got, Brad?
I've got to pick the Bears because if I don't, my wife will kill me.
Okay,
She's a
all
Bears
right.
fan.
That's a good reason.
That's a very good reason. Happy wife, happy life. I think we all
Yeah.
agree with that. Dolphins at Ravens. Woo, this is a good one. I got the Ravens. Dolphins are suspicious against good teams. They did beat our Cowboys, but something had to break in that game. Something had to give because both the Cowboys and the Dolphins haven't been very good against winning teams this year. So someone had to win that game. It was a close one, 22-20, whatever it was, but I don't think the Dolphins will beat the Ravens in Baltimore. I think the
No.
Ravens got this one. Ravens are playing lights out right now. What do you guys got?
Yeah, after I saw what they did to Frisco, man, I don't know if they'll lose the rest of the way out, man. Sheesh. Yeah. Physical, tough, both sides of the ball. Yeah. Ravens.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
What do you got, Brad? Ravens?
The Ravens.
Dolphins.
Yeah. The Ravens.
All right,
Dolphins just ain't there yet.
I'll only pick a couple other key games to end this, games that kind of sort of matter. So let's talk about, this is a really big one for NFC South. Saints at Buccaneers. Like I said, the Bucs are in this 4th seed right now, being 8-7, but the Saints are fighting for a spot, and they could take over, the number 4 seed possibly, or Atlanta, with whatever happens the last 2 games of the year. I'll pick the Bucs. I think the Bucs. Originally, a show ago, I said that the Saints will be the team to sneak out of the NFC South, but I'm going to change my mind on that. With the way the Bucs are playing, they won last week. I think the Bucs will win this game again. And if they win this, it's over. They got that division.
Yeah.
So I got the Bucs winning this one at home. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I'll take Tampa Bay as well. I think that's who Dallas will play if things keep going the way they
just
are
like
playing.
last year. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I think the Buccaneers will come out on top and end up winning that division. All in all.
Okay.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Tampa's won 4 in a row, averaging 28.5 points a game.
Yeah, they're on
in
fire
those
right
4.
now.
So, but just one thing back to your Baltimore Miami game.
Yeah.
If Baltimore happens to win that, and Buffalo wins this week, in which they should, playing New England, that game next week, Buffalo Miami is going to be for the division title.
That's a very good point.
And
really
Buffalo's already beat them once, so
yeah, that'll be very interesting. Yeah, those teams will be interesting. I agree. All right, games that matter here. Steelers. Well, there's Panthers and Jags, but we all think the Jags will win probably. So I don't really cover too much on that. I think Jags
they got more to play for.
They should bounce back to beat a 2-win Panthers team. But I do like the rookie quarterback from Alabama, who's one I'm sure who Brad follows. I think he's going to have a good NFL career. He's just had a rough rookie year because he has no one around him to throw to. So they need to build that team.
Yeah.
But I really like the rookie guy. I do. I think he's getting a lot of criticism. I don't like it. Me and Monty have talked about it in previous shows. Like, I'm not an Alabama fan. It's like what Brad said earlier about being good kids, and I think he's good kids, and I don't like what he's been hearing. So I think the Jags probably will win that game, but you never know, man. But I think the Jags will win because they have a lot on the line too. What do you guys think? Anybody?
I think they'll win, but I mean, Bryce Young did have a great game last week.
He did.
And Trevor Lawrence is out, so I think it's going to be closer than expected.
Yeah,
that's right. You said that earlier in the show. I forgot. Lawrence isn't playing. That makes a big difference. You're right.
Yeah, I still think that Jacksonville will win out, so no matter what.
Okay.
Just because I think they're better even without them. So yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brad? I know you're a big Bryce Young fan, so you going for the Panthers or the Jags?
Yeah. My biggest problem with Bryce Young has always been that he's a pass first quarterback that can run like a scalded dog. And his problem is he always wants to pass first when he should take off and run. And even in the NFL, on a team with no offensive line in front of him, he still hasn't learned to tuck the ball away and run.
Yeah.
And it's killing him this year. And if they either need to start putting plays in for him to run or get a line that can block for him. Right. Otherwise, he's going to have a very short career because he is not a big dude.
Yeah, no, he's not.
But I think if he can get some blocking in front of him, they might have a chance to pull it off and pull out a win. But if they play like they've been playing the rest of the year up until last week, they're going to lose, and the Jags will beat them, even without Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. Couple more games left. Dave's team, Steelers at Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will win, but Steelers are so unpredictable right now. You don't know what is going on with those guys.
Yeah.
I like Mike Tomlin as a coach. He's a very fiery coach. That guy, man, when his eyes get lit up, man, he can scare anybody. That guy's a very intense coach, but I like him, man. But I think the Seahawks will win. They're playing some good ball, like Dave alluded to, and they're playing good at the right time of the year. So I think the Seahawks will win this game and keep their 7th seed spot for a last spot in the NFC playoffs. What do you guys got?
Yeah, that Seahawks offense is scary. A lot of weapons, a lot of weapons. They're going to give Pittsburgh all they can handle. So I think Seattle will win that game.
What do you got, Dave? You
So
obviously
yeah,
got Seahawks.
yeah, Seahawks. Just a quick note because I gave you that little nugget last week. Seahawks are 6-0 when they rush for over 100 yards. Pittsburgh's rushing defense is 27th in the NFL. So
Oof.
Oh,
run the ball.
Oof.
run the ball, Seattle.
As I yell to the TV screen, run the damn ball.
Yeah, you told me that last week. Your wife's getting mad at you. Yeah, your wife's like, "Why are you yelling at the TV?" My wife says the same thing. It's like, "Cause Cowboys suck." Like that's why. So, so I understand you, Dave. What do you got, Brad? You got Seahawks winning this?
I can't argue with running the ball. Seahawks.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. Well, two more meaningful games, and we'll close. Bengals at Chiefs. Do you guys think Travis Kelce is whooped? And do you think the Chiefs will win? Has Taylor Swift whooped him? Because he is not playing as good. The whole team seems like Taylor Swift whooped. So, will the Chiefs?
All the receivers?
Will the Chiefs win this game? I can't believe they lost to the Raiders last week. And the Raiders had no offense. They had like all kinds of pick sixes, and their defense won that game. So I think the Chiefs will make the playoffs. Obviously, they're in.
Yeah.
But will the Bengals beat the Chiefs at home?
No, the Chiefs, they got to bounce back after that embarrassing whooping they got from the Raiders.
Yeah, I think so
They
too.
they'll bounce back from that. That was ridiculous.
Mahomes is going
Great.
crazy on the sideline. He's yelling at football officials like me and Dave about the calls, about the offsides call, which I thought was a good freaking call personally. But you know, in our high school game, Dave, would you throw that flag? Let me ask you that. Let me put you on the spot. In a high school varsity game, would you? Well, we would. I know we wouldn't probably throw it in high school level, but NFL is different. That's what me and Monty were talking about like a month ago. Was like NFL is different than high school. So, in our game, we probably wouldn't throw it. Would you throw it? I don't think you would, but but correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, yeah, he was so far over to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
It was obvious.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't touching the line. His helmet was almost to the next line.
That's what I'm saying.
It was bad.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why people are mad.
Yeah, he was like 2.5 feet over the line.
It was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
No. Because while I was telling people on Facebook and Dave, one of our officials, second year guy with me, Frank, disagreed with me because he said that was a bad call to make a call like that at the end of the game online. I'm like, no, it's not, because his head was completely over, and he's an NFL receiver who makes millions of dollars. He should know better. Like, we teach this crap at our middle school games when the middle school receivers check in with us, like ask us if they're on the line or not. Like, they know to check in with the wing official, which I do. Like, you better check in with me. If not, you might not be lined up right, and then you're gonna get a flag or legal formation.
Well, let me ask this just for clarification. So when you line up on the line as a receiver, are you allowed to hang over the line as long as your foot is behind the line, or does your whole body have to be behind the line?
Your whole body should be behind it.
Okay, because I think there's a lot of confusion about that. Because his
your head should not be over the line. So like what we do in like lower level games, like we don't try to penalize them early in the game. Like we know, like if we know like a receiver, like a middle school receiver is line up off sides a little bit because his head's leaning over, like we'll just tell him, like, hey, you need to move back. We're not gonna try to flag a kid in the first couple of plays of the game because he's line up off sides, especially if it's not affecting anything. But if we warn them multiple times, then like we start throwing flags, like, hey, your guy's been lining up off sides. We told the coach like 3 times and they still keep up line, even offense or defense. But then we throw the flag. But no, but to answer your question, you have to be completely on sides. You can't have anything off. So yeah,
that's what I thought. I mean, because I remember even like back in high school, I remember lining up on the edge and being told that I was lined up off sides, but my foot wasn't across the line, so they would just tell me, hey, you need to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I never thought that maybe my head was just hanging over.
Yeah, that's what we try to do in lower level games, is to tell them to move back before we start throwing flags, especially if it's early in the game. Later on, we might throw it, especially like we've warned them already, so because sometimes defensive players do that too, not encroachment, but like defensive offsides where their helmet is over the ball. We try to warn the coach, like, hey, your defensive end, man, his helmet's over the ball, man. You guys got to back him up, So if they don't listen to us, then we throw a flag. So, But the other differences in the NFL versus the high school games is that's a dead ball penalty for us. Any kind of offsides is dead ball. But in NFL, they let that play go, right, Dave? Like they let that play stay live.
Yeah.
In our game, we don't let it stay live. A dead ball, that's a dead ball penalty in a high school football game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what made it so much more dramatic is because they scored.
And I mean, the official didn't know Kelsey was going to make that play. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
that's
Right.
the thing. I mean, if he makes that play and the kid drops the ball like on his lateral and the other team recovers, then this is nothing. I mean,
That's what I told
just
Frank.
decline the
That's
penalty
what
and you're
happened.
good. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So
What made it drama was because they scored. But
yeah,
here's another thing, though. One of my guys said at work before we close is the Chiefs still had 3 or 4 plays. That wasn't the last play of the game.
right.
So they still had a chance to get in field goal range, and they did not. So I think this all needed to calm down. And Patrick Holmes needs to stop yelling at the officials. Like, dude, your receiver's been screwing you all year. Tony's had a horrible year. So, yeah, poor Tony just hasn't been right since the very first game of the year. So he's struggling. Unfortunately, good player, but he's really struggled from the very first game of the year. He's never really bounced back this year at all for whatever reason's going on. I don't know if it's Taylor Swift. He hasn't bounced back. So
they got to remember that they've been playing at a level of greatness for the last couple of years. They're not going to be able to maintain that level of greatness forever.
Right.
They're going to have slumps, and they just happen to be going through one of those slumps right now.
I agree.
And
Teams catching up.
Yeah, with them showing their butts like that, just shows that they don't know how to deal with adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw it even come out with the Eagles a little bit, and some of their players kind of getting out of pocket on the sidelines too. And Jalen reeled them in real quick.
That's good of him.
And now they're still struggling, but they're not losing their minds on the sidelines like they were.
Right.
They're just fighting through it, and now they understand that it's a process that they got to go through and work through. The Chiefs just got to get through it.
I agree completely. Well, we got closed, gentlemen, because my battery's almost run out, my laptop, and this show's gone on for like an hour and a half. So we will close. But thank you guys for joining me. It was a great show. And
way in the year, guys.
Please
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, it was fun, and everyone needs to subscribe from the Grid to the Rim Sports Talk. So thank you, viewers, and thank you, subscribers, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys showing up today. It was awesome.
Thank you, Brad and Dave. Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Nice meeting you guys.
All right.
You too.